Howdy, folks. Glad to see you all gathered here in the old Corral once again for our little song fest and get together. We enjoy having you folks with us, so get yourself comfortable, and I'll call on the folks to bring you a few songs. And I've got a little story I want to tell you in a few minutes. I think you'll like it. And now, Sally Foster, honey, I see you got a little song here that I like to hear you sing.
What is it, Pap?
At Sunset Trail to Texas.
And you want to hear that?
I sure do.
Well, we'll do it for you.
Introduction, boys.
I'd love to be in Texas by the silvery Rio Grande and smell the blooming cactus where the cowboys rope and brand. It's a long way down to Texas, and I haven't long to store, 'cause I want a brand and lasso and the roundup starts to score. Get along, old paint, get going, get along, old pal. Rio Grande is softly flowing where the coyotes howl. Soon we will be in Texas, beautiful state of Texas. It is a blissful land and a place where a man's a man. So get along, old paint, get going, get along, old pal. Rio Grande is softly flowing where the coyotes howl. Out on the Sunset Trail, sorrows will not prevail. Down by the Rio Grande,
Yes, sir, you kind of tore that apart. Well, here comes old Foggy now.
Yeah, here's old Foggy.
I'm going to get old Foggy up here. Foggy, I want you to sing. Can you sing?
I'll try it, Pap.
You will.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've known you a long time. You're willing to try anything, I guess. Well, we're willing to listen, so go right ahead and sing any old time.
All right, sir, Pap. I just received your letter. You're down and out, you see. At first I thought I would tell you to travel on the other way, but in my memory lingers what you once were to me. I thought I would give you just one more chance to prove what you can be. In the old times you wanna come back home, just drop me a line and say no more you roam. You've had your chance to play the game fair when
Thanks. Well, I got a little story I want to tell you now, kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I sometimes refer to it as the Phantom Horse. As I recall, Vince Roberts was one who saw it first, and I reckon he was the last to see it, too, far as that's concerned. If I'm accurate on my dates, it was 43 years ago this year that Vince first saw the Phantom Horse. At that time, he was foreman of the Brandon Circle Ranch near Yuma, Arizona. Now, Vince was one of those kind of fellers who was always acting mean to horses. And if there's one thing cowboys can't stomach, that's it. But to give the devil his due, Vince Roberts was a shrewd foreman and a real manager. Now, he wasn't mean to his horses all the time, of course, just when he was upset or something like that, and mad. Of course, he was upset and mad most of the time. Then he'd use his quirt and his spurs pretty bad. Well, one moonlit, misty night, Vince was coming back from town in the buckboard when all of a sudden his team stopped dead in their tracks. Up ahead on the road, Vince saw a snow-white stallion, one of the biggest animals he'd ever seen. Looked to be a good head and a half higher than a good-sized dapple gray. Vince whistled, and the big horse slowly sauntered down the road and around the curve way ahead. Vince whipped the buckboard team to the curve like a streak of lightning. But when he got there, the snow-white stallion was gone, vanished into thin air. Vince couldn't believe his eyes, and he told us all about it next morning. After that, Vince saw the big horse several times. And as I look back now, the only time he saw the Phantom Horse, as we called it, was after he had been particularly mean to his own ponies. Well, I recall one night when I was riding with Vince on a fence inspection trip. We just pulled up at a little stream to give the horses a drink when Vince gripped me by the arm and he pointed. And there on the other side of the stream was the white horse. And believe me, he was a monster. We both dug in and crossed the stream with our lariats ready. It was a clear moonlight night, so we could see almost as good as day. Well, Vince was a pretty fair hand when it come to roping, and I saw his lariat sneak out and fall right over that white horse's head. And then Vince, he stopped, braced himself. But the jar never did come. No, sir, the white horse kept right on going, and Vince's rope dropped to the ground. Now, I ain't given to tall stories, but I'm telling you that rope didn't slip off. No, sir. It come right through the big white stallion's neck, right through it, just like it was a fog. Mister, that convinced me that there was something mighty queer going on. Well, one night about 5 weeks later, all of us was asleep and sound when all of a sudden there was a terrible commotion out in the stable. By the time we got up, Vince was running out there ahead of us. Way ahead of us, in fact. Yep. In the moonlight, we could see him around the corner of the barn, and then we heard him yell, "It's a stallion." And then a second later, we heard 4 shots, and then Vince screaming. A shrill scream of terror, and then silence. Well, when we finally got out there, everything was deathly quiet. Vince was, too. His body was laying on the ground, badly bruised and broken, just like he'd been trampled by a big horse, except there was no hoof prints. The coroner said it was accidental death. That's what he said. But you know, I got a hunch he was wrong. Vince was murdered by a ghost horse. That's what I think. A ghost horse.
He was just a Texas cowhand, one that knew his stuff. His eyes were black and his face was tan. His hands were broad and rough. He was tough as an old buzzsaw. All the boys stayed shy, for they all knew his aim was true. He'd shoot at the wink of an eye. One night with grass plains around us, he met with the rustler's band. As a flame leaped high on his old campfire, he fell with a gun in his hand. We rolled out of bed next morning. We dug the grave in the sand. When we found stretched out on the ground this brave and lonely cowhand. We buried him on the prairie wrapped in an old cowhide. By the light of the moon, we rode on his tune, another cowhand's last ride.
That's what I call running out of breath. Well, folks, that's all there is. There ain't no more for this time. We certainly enjoyed having you in the old corral with us for our little song fest and get together. We'd like to have you visit us again the next time we gather here. So make it a date, will you? We'll reserve your spot on the top rate. This is Pappy Cheshire speaking for Sally and all the boys saying, so long, everybody. So long.